I won't get this anyway. You won't find this information I'm about to reveal anywhere else on the earth. So it's going to be quite interesting. It's actually quite funny to think we've got an entire history of a bunch of people who have no idea what they're talking about. I'm going to explain it all. So we'll just wait till we get some numbers on board before I start. Hello from Clearwater, Florida. Okay, well, I'm in New Zealand. I'm about to give you a history of the Jews like you've never heard before. Which is basically a history of religion, which which no one has ever heard before. Yes, I've seen you around. I've seen you before. Pop the cannon. I don't do much these days. I think that's the way they plan it when they sever your followers, sever your numbers, sever the subscriptions. Would have been hundreds of thousands of subscribers years ago. But they started reversing all the numbers, then it just started staggering along. I was getting heaps of people a week. Then it just basically flatlined, and it's been stuck at 9,500 for good 2 years now. And only just yesterday they wiped 10 off. They don't normally do it suddenly like that. They just don't register anybody at all, but they let it grow and then just knocked 10 off yesterday. So I'm about to give you a history, a rundown on religion and the Jews' history, why it's all a big farce. There's no such thing as a special race of people unless you have been, unless you are a Jesus, because it's not a one-off event. It's a reoccurring event. And this is why it's kept in the Bible, why the Bible is kept, why all of religion is kept, and why we have so many ancient books, which the Zionists and Jews have all labelled as history. They're basically esoteric stories concerning religion, which is all astrophysics, celestial, as above so below, which affects the consciousness of man here on earth. So we're going to talk about that. So we'll see if we get a few more numbers. I just had 15, that dropped back down to 11. Ovid's Heroides. Just go read a couple of those poems and get your hands on that book, The Myths of Avalon, or King Arthur. They're all associated. They're all telling the story I'm about to reveal. But all those ancient books, all the ancient Greek stories and Egyptian stories, All of religion all point to one thing, and it's the meaning to life, which is man's second birth that he must go through in this physical world. So to leave this matrix, you see, now it's just dropped back down to 7. It's funny that, isn't it? 9,500 subscribers, and I've got 7 people watching me live. 9 now. Oh, what? All of a sudden it goes to 21. See, this is how they play with us. Hang in there, folks. I'm about to give you something you've never heard before. Unless you've been following me, of course. You might have picked up on a few things. How religion is all comes from above. What the stars and the sun are doing over the season. What the sun and a lemur is. The sun leading you to the Holy Land. They tell you, all these religious people tell you they don't worship the sun. They have no idea they are worshipping the sun, because the sun is our creator. It's where the sun goes that determines, it governs all these religious ceremonies. Most of all religion is about the sun crossing the tropics. And it's all in latitude, you see. Arcs of degrees, or not arcs, latitude-wise. Arcs of degrees is longitude. And so, everything's about 40 days and 40 nights, or you got Lent, which is 49 or 50 days. Lent. That's once the sun has crossed the tropics. And, we know the tropics is 47 degrees, right? Well, in physics, not that you'd know it because they don't tell you the truth, they lie a lot. Through the tropics, we have direct north to south compass bearings. There's no declination. Particularly after 7 degrees into the tropics. So what they call that in religion the 7 days of purification, because it's 7 degrees, right? So you have to wander into the tropics for 7 days before you get a clear run, a direct north to south compass bearing. No declination. It's the only place on Earth that you can get a direct north to south bearing. Okay? So from either end, you've got to move into the tropics 7 days to clear the declination, which is the purification, purifying that declination out of your trip. Otherwise, you've got to make calculations for this divergence. They all know about this in celestial navigation and everything else, sailing and stuff. Anyway, so Lent is once the sun's completed that journey. So you've got 47 degrees in total, because you've got 7 degrees into the tropics, then you've got 40 days and 40 nights to get out. Okay? But why is it 49 or 50 days for Lent? Well, shall I tell you, or just leave it to my Patreons? Might leave that one hanging, actually. So, mainly the video is about the Jews, right? So you just take the word Jews, Jews. Well, there never was a J, right? So they replaced the Y. It was always a Y with the J. So if you put a Y instead of a J for Jews, you have U's, which is when you translate it back to English, it's basically you. And didn't Jesus say in Luke 17:21, the kingdom of God is within you? Hello. You've got the name Yusuf. Yusuf. God increases. Or he will add. So you can take Jesus, you take the two syllables. It's always about the syllables. When you break all these words down, you have to break them down per syllable in etymology, you see. And this is where you find all the truth. So Yusuf is Joseph, Yusuf, or Jesus, Jesus, Zeus, Jesus, Zeus being God, Father, or Ye being God, Zeus being Father, God, Father. In Old English, Ye is you. Okay? Now, then you come to the word Hebrew. What does it mean? Hebrew means to cross over, or pass over, or other side. And what happens with this celestially, what's happening during the year? Is the sun not crossing over the tropical gap, the tropics, the celestial tropical boundary? Well, it is, but we're not taught all this. It's understanding the entire system, understanding the two hemispheres, the two separate hemispheres separated by the tropical gap. You've got one season coming up and over and going down into a mente to pop up in the other hemisphere. So think of this as the 24-hour sun in the Arctic disappears for 3 days from the Arctic and reappears 3 days later as light, or I don't think it's the sun above the horizon, but pops out in Antarctica for their 24-hour solar day. Okay? But when you delve very deep into the declination, the degrees the sun moves and the sun's in a lemma, you start realizing, the periods the day the sun is below the horizon and the periods the sun pops up above the horizon. And then you've got to think there's a lot more to it, because things are different beyond 66.6 degrees. Beyond the Arctic Circle is another story. So understanding both hemispheres have their own celestial cycles. The southern hemisphere celestial cycles are mirrored from the north. And both hemispheres have their own sun analemmas. But the crossings are different. You've got to understand the crossing point on the sun's analemma for the southern hemisphere. This could get a bit confusing too. Is governed by what's going on beyond 66.6 degrees. Okay? And normally this crossing point represents entering the tropics. Okay? So our equinox is not entering the tropics, if you work it all out by degrees and days. Why have they drawn the equinox like at least a third into the southern end of the sun's analemma? Well, it's not representing much at all. It's representing 50-50 day and night. It's not representing the Earth's dual balanced magnetic field. Earth's magnetic field between the hemispheres is asymmetrical. Okay? The southern hemisphere is like the Earth is like a ring magnet, or take a bar magnet. Any magnetic cycle is asymmetrical. Did they teach you that at school? No. Well, when I first started looking into flat Earth, they just said it's equal. Well, it might be equal in energy overall, but the cycle is asymmetrical. It's always imbalanced, and this is creation. This is our entire realm, is asymmetrical. It's what they call friction. All life comes about from friction. Right? Think about it. So, like it says in the Bible, there will never be peace on earth. There will always be war, because it's the lower conscious mind. We're down here in the lower conscious state, fallen angels, fallen from above, heavenly, to go on this journey to make what you will of it, I suppose. It's a learning trip. You've got to overcome everything. And it's not until you overcome and you open your mind that you raise your conscious state of elevate into a higher consciousness, which is basically a higher frequency band, because everything in our realm is based on sound. It all comes out of the central black hole. The central black hole vortex hidden in the center Arctic, which is a heart. Man is of the earth. He has a heart, which is a vortex. You open it up, unspiral it, you've got yourself an S-curve. What do you have inside any size vortex, which is hidden in the Arctic center, vortex of creation? It has an S-curve within it, an S-cycle. S-cycle is a half cycle. An S-cycle from the side, elevation, is a golden ratio if you look down from above as a flat plane. But then there's two golden ratios face to face. You've heard that, might have read that in the Bible. Face to face creates a cardanoid. That's the full cycle. That's an up cycle and a down cycle. Creates the cardinal, which is the apple. This is why we get Apple and old, what's his face, the old Freemasons and their buddy Newton, the old apple, you know. They don't mention, I don't think they mention, do they mention the apple in the Bible? I'm not sure, but there's the other religious books, esoteric stories, they mention the apple, because they are describing the cardanoid cycle. So you've got the vortex there. So the central black hole is where the sound comes from, and you extrapolate the 2D plane. It begins at the 2D plane, which then becomes a vortex. So it sets the system off, sets it in motion, which creates our entire toroidal field realm around it. But it's all, so, our Earth is not either geocentric or heliocentric. The Earth isn't at the center, but it's all about the Earth. But it's what's at the center of the Earth, not in it. At the center of the torus field is on the positive plane above the inertial plane. So you've always got to think of Earth as a ring magnet, with the center hole as the black hole center of the vortex sitting on its top side. There's a vortex on the bottom side as well, and the two come together to create the hyperboloid center of the torus field. But we all dwell on the positive field above the plane, right, where the sun is. So you go back to the center, which would be the center Arctic, right? Well, the center Arctic, we cannot get to the dead center, no matter what they tell you. The older folks called it the place of inaccessibility for a reason. Go beyond that, you've got, what's his face, who said, if you find the ends of the earth and go there, you will surely die. Enoch. Okay. The high pressure. You can't get through the high pressure. Man just will die. You can't handle it. Just like when you fly up high in a rocket, you're hitting the high pressure. The high pressure is the heavier water molecule. You're basically trying to smash your way into an ocean of water. And they say the water's above and water's below. That's what's one aspect of it. But it's not really the firmament. The firmament is the place, the gap between the two like poles. The firmament is the tropical gap, celestial tropical gap. Okay? But then you've got to realise the celestial tropical gap imitates Like that's sideways, horizontally. I mean, naturally, right? Horizontally, yeah. Or you go and stand it on top of each other like a stack of books. You've got it vertically, and that's the way it works back at creation. You've got two ends of the Milky Way coming in to meet above the plane where we are, okay? So we've now stepped from the creation of Earth, which is the 2D plane, with the two forces of nature that come together to create that inertial plane from below Earth and above Earth, positive and negative, you could say. But then you forget the bottom of the Earth now and step up onto our plane where we exist with the positive field and our sun. We only have the top half of the hyperboloid center, which is the V for the vortex. And understand the vortex is like the human heart. And it has a diaphragm at the top though. And that diaphragm, when it contracts, it bulges up. So take the plane, the top plane of a vortex, where everything started, that's the 2D plane, before it created the 3D depth below it. So this plane at the top, when the vortex breathes in, or the heart breathes in, that plane, the center bulges up. And that bulge in the center represents the dome on the mound. This is where all the domes in religion come from, the golden dome, because that's where the pure plasma sun is. That's the true Father, the true Son reside, is on this 2D plane hidden in the center Arctic we do not see, which is connected to the Milky Way, one end of it that comes over, lays across the 2D plane, over to the tropics, the celestial tropics, where we get an image of that sun. An image created in the light spectrum. So obviously everything coming from sound, which is from the black hole back at the center, our whole realm is based on that, on sound, resonance, frequency, whatever. And it gives us an image of the sun. So obviously it's going to have to look like something, like everything does in our realm. And what does the sun look like? Now we know, because of all these fancy filters and cameras everybody has, like Triple Crow, or Crow 777, whatever he calls himself, showing us the sun is a wheat field. Well, how did all the ancients know that the sun, the creator, that all religion's about, had something to do with wheat or looked like a wheat field? Well, of course they know, because how many stories are in the Bible regarding bread, wheat, sheaves, threshing? It's all about wheat, because it's all about the sun, the movement of the sun. The sun leads us to the Holy Land, and the Holy Land comes about twice a year. When and where, you'll have to go to my Patreon for that. So yeah, and then what's happening? Well, the sun's moving, the stars are moving, because physics knows the stars, the southern stars, move north. How they explain that on their globe, I do not know. I can't figure it out how they do it, because the stars will only start moving north after the December solstice, okay? They start moving from the December solstice, they start moving north all the way up and stop at the June solstice, okay? Not all the southern stars move up there, but they're all moving north. They cross over the tropics, but the tropics is regarded as the veil, hidden under the veil. In all the religious stories, you don't see it. The only way we know they're moving south. I mean, science knows. I don't know what they're how they know, but the stars from the south moving north is what changes the constellations because of the overlay. The ancient Egyptians knew all about this because it's related to Seti I and Abydos, Egypt. Okay, about the overlay, the reliefs. There's one relief overlaid with another relief, and this is where we get the helicopters and the motorboat and that sort of thing. Go look into that. So it's these stars moving north is when we eventually, I won't tell you when, but eventually we get the Physica-Piscis. So we know in star trail photography there's a star rotation in the south and there's a separate star rotation in the north, separated by the straight crossing, straightway, celestial tropical gap. So imagine those southern stars are moving all the way up to overlay the northern half of the northern sky. If you've got the two circles, you take the southern circle, just hitting the tip of the center Arctic. Okay, so it's not a full overlay, it's only 50-50. So while the stars are moving, the sun are moving, it's all due to magnetism. It's contraction and expansion. It's to do with the toroidal field. And we all exist in this toroidal field. So to imagine it, you get I use a bit of aluminium ducting and form a circle, and then you grab the outsides and then curl the bottom up and in through the internal center. That would be our June summer season, and then you pull it back out again, so the field comes back down and out for the southern hemisphere summer. So this is the diaphragm, okay? So imagine the northern hemisphere, the center vortex, the hidden vortex with the flat plane above as the diaphragm, and as the center of it bulges up, that's the June solstice, and when it contracts back down and into the vortex, that is your southern hemisphere 24-hour sun, and of course there's summer. So, and in our realm, where man is inverted to creation, isn't it? God and man, they're inverted. So back at creation, we have the vortex with the 2D plane diaphragm at the top, but the human heart has the diaphragm at the bottom, doesn't it? Well, go and relate the two, okay? And while you're there, go and relate the two between the female and her monthly cycles and the monthly cycle of the moon. You get to understand how the moon is the feminine. And then it takes us to Israel. Isis being the sky, the night sky, stars and the moon. And they're in the vortex, the V shape, you could say the woman's crutch. And everything happens in there. When you look at the woman's anatomy, think of the vortex and what's coming in from the sides, where the ovaries and all that are. It's all related. And so you've got the feminine, then you've got Ra. We're talking about Israel, okay? Break it down, syllables. Ra as the sun, the male. And then you've got El, Elohim, God, or the Father, or the God within, or the initiate. There's always this trinity about, because like I say, the celestial bodies affect the consciousness of man on earth. He is God. God is within. Like I said, Duke 1721, the kingdom of God is within you. You don't go anywhere to look for God. He's within you. If you can't handle that, then, waste your time doing what common folk do. Go to some gathering and look under a pew or somewhere and see if you can find him there. But anyway, if you've got a brain, you'll know it's inside of you. It's all to do with the brain, the mind. We have the two hemispheres to Earth, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. Now that doesn't mean that's a North Pole and a South Pole. That's where you've all been lied to. Each hemisphere breaks down again. Like I said, it's all due to magnetism. So you have a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere to the Earth. You have a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere to your brain. It's about syncing your brain. Referred to the gateway process, the CIA papers. They'll give you the rundown on what's going on there, syncing the brain. But to the Bible and the religious ceremony, event, using the man Jesus as the story, is all about the man having his gates opened and they will not be shut, meaning he goes through this divine awakening where his brain sync to open his third eye to become a very wise man. And this is why the Bible is all about the Jesus. He is the King of the Kings. And then it takes you to the zodiac because it represents every zodiac sign. Okay, so there's a king in every zodiac sign. Okay, but there's the King of the Kings, and that was the Jesus story. He's the ultimate enlightenment, the ultimate initiate story. That's why it's kept in the Bible. And, you know, the Valley of the Kings in Egypt, there's lots of kings, isn't there? But who is the King of the Kings? Well, what we've found so far is probably Tutankhamun. But they find a body in there? I don't know. Normally you just don't find bodies in these massive sarcophagi, these granite 100-ton coffins. No, it's about your soul, and it's all about resonance, the sound. Now this connects you back to the zodiacs, the 12 zodiac signs, right? So each having their king would change the frequency of the sun. It's all connected back to the sun again. This is beyond, folks, I know. But if there's an illuminated man on earth, and it depends on where he comes from, celestially, his tribe, his zodiac sign, which is connected to the moon, determines the frequency. And those sarcophagi have all their own frequencies. They're all different frequencies. Okay? And ones that have been opened, we've been through that age. Okay? So we're looking for the age of Aquarius, which I think we should be in by now. I think we're in, but according to science, no, not celestially. We don't see it yet. I could be wrong there. Where are we going? So understanding the word Israel. So Hebrew, back to Hebrew, means to cross over or pass over, or the other side. Okay? And wasn't Abraham considered the Hebrew identified as the one who crossed over the other side? Well, this divine event leads you to this physicapiscus, you see. So, and it's written somewhere that a man will come from the south. So Jesus actually came from the south. Or everything comes from the south, because the south has to move up to overlay the north to gain the physicapiscus. The two star rotations overlaying at a precise time of the year to give balance, magnetic balance to the earth. You know, I'm doing all this talking, and there's all these brain dead people coming in and going out. There's only 8 here now. I feel like I'm wasting my time, see? Whether they're yeah. It's a waste of time, isn't it? But that's what they want. They don't want me sharing the truth. They know. The Freemasons who own all this stuff, these Zionists that own all these systems, they just don't want the truth getting out there. They want to keep you all as their slave race, as ignorant as there's a good dung. Keep you down in the dung gate, the lower chakra. So Abraham, you've got Abraham, A-B, it represents A, away, or from, or off, or down. There's the movement. Could be connected to Alpha and Omega too. And then you've got Ra, Abraham, Ra the sun, and Ham, where the sun sits in the Milky Way. See, they don't teach you that the sun's tucked into the Milky Way. And Ham balls down to that bit behind your kneecap. So you consider your knee as the sun, the bulge in the Milky Way, the galactic center, the kneecap. In the Iliad, it describes it as the kneecap. Well, either the sun or the black holes in the back of your knee. Realizing that all religious stories, the Bible, everything is all about the night cycle, the stars, the back of the sun. In the Noah story, the sons of Noah walked backwards. Suns. All the planets in the sun are all suns. They're all male. But the hermaphrodites, male and female, which is an X and a Y chromosome, representing the male on Earth. We are X and Y chromosomes, so we're all hermaphrodites, basically. Okay? So our Y is forever searching for its X. And this is the whole story of religion. Man, to leave this matrix, has to find his lost feminine aspect, his lost Lilith, who left him as he was born into the light of this world, this physical dual world. And the secret is all in the Trinity. We have the duality, but the dual has to come together to form the Trinity. And all the secrets are in the Trinity. And that's in the overlay, which is the Physica-Piscis. And the Physica-Piscis is all about Israel, the Jews, who think they are from this place, central place, surrounded by two big countries, two other big land masses or something. Think of the Physica-Piscis. It's spiritual, celestial, astrophysics, which affects the consciousness of man. As above, so below. We all come from the stars. Your soul is up there. One of those stars is your soul. Before you were born, something flew down in the form of a, I wouldn't say the star. Stars should still be up there, but all these, not sprites, what do they call them? Shooting stars? Meteors, meteor showers. They all come from certain constellations, and they all go down into the female fetus of a woman's baby. So she's got this fetus inside of her, a female fetus, and all the eggs in the female fetus are downloaded within the first 2 months of gestation. Can you believe that? It's all predetermined. But you go on in life when you're born to have free will, and the dumber you are, the more ignorant you are, the longer it's going to take you to find your way back. So it's all about reincarnations, you see, time and time again till you wake up. And it's not until you wake up you can leave this matrix, leave this lower conscious physical realm, come back in a higher state of frequency. So Abraham, the Hebrew, identified as the one who crossed over. They said the wise man comes from the south. Then you got abracadabra. Abracadabra. I create as I speak. Abraham, abracadabra. I create as I speak. It's all connected. It's because it's all sound, you see. Our whole realm comes from sound. Light, images, all come from sound. The sun illuminates everything. So all the sound comes out of the black hole. The sun on its horizon that holds all the frequencies is basically the conductor, or the song itself. In some aspects, the moon is the conductor. She's the harmonic oscillator. That's right. The moon is the harmonic oscillator that moves across the 2D plane and back again every month. Okay, like a mother going out to feed her sons, her babies, her planets, then come back. But she's in the central vortex, so she's doing an S cycle down into the center, which represents the sun, back into the sun every month to reunite the duality of the sun and the moon being separate. That's our dual realm. So most of the time they're both separate, but then they become united every new moon, which takes you back to singularity, and then the sun becomes electromagnetic. It's electro and magnetic because the moon represents the magnetic field, the sun is electrical. Then it takes you to where the sun is out in our tropical region, moving around that tropical strip, the street, and the magnetic field coming in at the top at its peak to marry into that cross member. So draw a cross, put the cross, like the Jesus cross, in the tropics, the cross member at the top. That's where they get the marrying. The two sides of the hemispheres meet right there, bang, where the sun is. So it's happening all the way through the day. As the sun moves around the tropics, the magnetic field rushes in and gets a pairing right there, bang. And that asymmetrical pairing, one creates the friction to illuminate the vault of heaven, like we call it electrical engineering, the vault, the spark. So the imbalance is the electrostatics, forming the electrical, the sun, and the balance that comes out of it goes up the Milky Way, because our sun's connected to the Milky Way, goes up the Milky Way to feed the perfection, the balanced black hole. The black hole represents balance, rest, perfection. Okay? So the sun moving around that gap is creating the changing magnetic field, and in turn the changing magnetic field between the tropics is driving the sun around the gap. That's all in known physics. So this is one way we have to look at our system in our physical realm. Okay? But the truth is, the sun, the real sun, the unseen plasma sun, comes from both ends of the earth. It comes out of the centre Arctic, displayed in the tropics via the Milky Way. It comes out of the south all the way around, because the south end of a circle, the south end of the meridian, is infinite. So everybody on earth has their own south end meridian image of what's going on in the centre. Their sun, if you're particularly if you're in the southern hemisphere, your sun is coming out of the south by east, northeast, and north, around to the west, southwest again. In actual fact, it's doing a big cardioid loop. Okay, but we don't see that half, that loop. That loop goes back into the vortex. That's another long story. So it's understanding, this will help you relate to the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Once it does pop out into the southern hemisphere, it's illuminated all the way around, because every end, south end of a man's meridian is the sun. So it's infinite. So you go and stand out there in Antarctica, you're going to get the sun racing around you. It's more obvious beyond 66.6 degrees. You don't see it further north. But beyond 66.6 degrees, you see that cycle. Because the Antarctic is basically inverted the Arctic now. It's the torus field. Inverted X. What's the opposite of that? Inverted. Inside out. It's contraction and expansion. So the field pops out to the south. Then you pull it back up and into the north. 24-hour sun. Push it out to the south. You get a rotation on that end of the meridian. Every man's meridian. So you're all getting your own image. That's how that works. Yeah, so that's everything I had written down here in a note. So it's the Physica Piscis when the two hemisphere star rotations overlay. And like I say, as the southern field being mirrored to the north revolves all the way around the central northern hemisphere in the flat Earth system in 24 hours. So just imagine the northern hemisphere turning, we're told anti-clockwise, right? 360 degrees over 24 hours. Well, that is mirroring to the south, driving that entire field in the south all the way around it. And this takes you back to time dilation and the Gleason map, longitude, the expansion between arcs of longitude, and time dilation being the golden ratio. So understanding the dilation is the Milky Way being dilated out into the toroidal field, our earthly toroidal field from the Arctic. And like I say, it's mirrored to the south, so that it dilates out from the south to the equator. It dilates out from the equator to Cancer. Dilates out from the Arctic to Cancer. It dilates out of the Antarctica, to Capricorn. Between Capricorn and Cancer is all the same. The diameter around Capricorn is the same diameter as Cancer. Guess what else? Every longitude. They're all equal. Time over distance is equal. This is why the ancients had an image of the Earth as being a cylinder folding around itself. And why we have a Mercator map. All the arcs of longitude are parallel, because time over distance is equal. They all know this. So you just get, brainwash the people for 100 years, and you've got a world full of dummies who think they live on a ball now. It doesn't take long to, just need a couple of dumb parents, and then they tell their children, then off it goes. Now they all think they live on the outside of a spinning ball. And these young people from school will say, Earth's not flat, it's round, period. Don't want to discuss it. They think they know everything. It's like they know nothing else, but they know how to use a computer. So being an older person and not knowing much about computers, never using them, you're the dummy. You're just a dummy because you don't know how to use a computer that these young people have just spent more than 10 years playing with. It's nothing but a toy they've spent 10 years playing with. Yet someone like me, a builder, retired builder, who had nothing to do with computers, knows nothing or stuff all about flipping. Well, I know enough about them, but I don't know how to navigate them very well. So I get very frustrated because I hardly ever use one. So, you've got these people who think they're very clever, know nothing but how to use a computer, and they think they're very clever. Yet the wise old people who've lived their life building, creating anything, who don't know how to use a computer, are the dumb old farts. Aren't we? Yeah. So I'll just run over. I see if there's any questions, okay? I'll better shoot back to the start here. Right. So loved the world. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. S-U-N, exactly. No one died or got slaughtered or, we call it sacrifice because once you're sacrificed, you are now severed from the lower mind. So you're living in an earth full of lower minds, and if you're not the lower mind, you're the odd one out. You've been sacrificed. You've left the pack because now you know everything. You're a lot wiser than them when it comes to the earthly things and the meaning to life. While these average people are arguing about politics when it's all just one big joke to you. Like how you've all been conned into this or that. Democrats or Republicans or National Labour, just the two. What's in the middle? What sits between them? No, but the average dodo man just keeps going to the polling booth to vote the same old dipsticks in. So God gave his one and only son, because every man has a light within him. That's his son. That's the Son of Man. Okay? So everyone has to be illuminated, which is the rebirth, to leave this matrix. You don't. If you don't wake up, you just keep getting reincarnated. That whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have eternal life. Exactly. Because you become immortal then. Your soul, your pineal gland, goes on. You don't go into the vortex to be all mixed up with everybody else now and come out as a tree or a dog or a sparrow or a fish. You have choices, or you end up in the Garden of Eden, say an earthly place where there's no Zionists running it. No one wanting to rule over you, imprison you, tax you for every move you make. Okay, the gap. Yep, the celestial gap, the tropical gap. What's it there for? Why is Capricorn and Cancer there representing something? How did the warm zone get there? If the sun is not local, in there, via electromagnetic induction or capacitance or electrostatics, hydrostatics coming from the Arctics, the high pressure to the low pressure. What's it doing there? How did it get there? And then we have these turkeys in your science trying to tell you that the magnetic fields will flip or whatever. Earth can never change. It has to have the two high pressure zones at each end and the warm in the centre. The two Arctic ends are both North Poles. They will always be North Poles. The two South Poles are Capricorn and Cancer. And between them is the firmament. Two like poles create a firmament. And in the midst of that firmament is the vault of heaven, you could say, which is the sun, spark, vault. Okay? But there's other ways you can call the vault, utilise that word. Layered atmospheric layers, like inert gaseous layers. Like you go back to the central plane, the 2D plane of the vortex at the top there. That circular plane has all this concentric wavelengths of the 5 planets. And they make up the human body too, the frequency bands, basically associated with your chakras, or kundalini or whatever. You're the 5 and the 7, the sun and the moon. They all have to work together. And they do. For enlightenment, they all do work together. Where are the stars and the sun and the moon and the star, the constellation, when you were conceived? Under the veil, inside your mother, inside your womb, inside the womb. Where were you? That's your moon sign, a moon sign. And it's not until you come into the light of the world, you have a sun sign. See, a lot of people just thought the moon sign was when you were born. No, it's not. The baby bottom burglar Christ denies. The baby bottom burglar. Haven't heard that one before. Baby bottom. You see the sun sitting on the horizon of the black hole centre forms the shape of a baby, doesn't it? If you fold the arms and legs into the baby, because the head is the sun and the body is the black hole. Well, the sun moves all the way around the black hole. That's your 24-hour day. So the sun going around the black hole is the Milky Way clock arm sweeping around our flat earth during the day, which is the northern hemisphere, the one clock, and then everything from there is mirrored to the south. So you've got your clock, you're going to have a mirrored clock in the south on that one man's meridian. Every man has his own north and south cycles within his arc of horizon, depending on his latitude as to how much you'll see of it. Okay, this guy's recommending go to the website Christagena and listen to his dual seed line pragmatic Genesis Bible commentary podcast. It'll change your life forever. He's by far the best Bible scholar. Okay, better write that down. I haven't come across anybody who actually knows what they're doing though when it comes to the Bible, except no, can't even think of their names at the minute. Where are we? Christogenia. Okay, I'll give that a go. Thank you. Okay, a parent's son. Yeah, that's the son we see. Please check out the website. You're not going to find a more well-read and studied detailed. Okay. I will check it out. It's interesting. Thanks. Spiral greed. The earth is not an object. No celestial bodies are objects. Nothing is physical up there. Nothing is physical in our realm. It's all resonance, vibration, frequency based. You can't explain anything with a globe. Exactly. Mirror. See? Mirror. Like 3D depth perception. Our whole realm is nothing but 3D depth perception. We're perceived to see depth. Well, look at a mirror. Now turn the mirror side on. How thick is it? Yet you see all this 3D depth in there. This is why they talk about mirrors so much in all these esoteric stories. Our whole reality is a reflection of our mind. Of the mind. Everything is of the mind. I trust there's always been a battle for glory, men versus most high creator of all things. No Solomon. Solomon's temple is in your head. No Solomon. Solomon. Yeah. Solomon's temple. See, temple, like I talked about the temple on the mound, the bulge of the 2D ecliptic plane, right? Well, you've got to realise, something to think about, is this is connected to the top of the man's head. And what's the last thing to close up on your skull is up there above your pineal gland. That's your temple. It's a dome. It's your dome. Dome on the mount. That's your dome. And anyway, this dome connected to the dome of the vortex, right? The center of the brain, where you got the top of your head, is connected to the kippah, you see, the Jewish cap, covering something. Well, that comes about from hiding something. And during man's enlightenment, there's this patch up there, and it becomes soft, and you can pull your hair and skin out. And this is what this kippah is supposed to hide, you see. And it's connected to the temples. It's the dome. And then you've got the temples, okay? So they tell you the temples are the sides of your skull. The two skin flat zones on the top sides of your skull. But in reality, they're inside there. They're inside in your brain called the claustrum. Okay? There's two flat bands, and it represents flaps of skin. on either side of your brain, okay? Now they swell, and this what creates your flood. When they open, the gates will not be shut. These are the gates of heaven, and they can be considered as the cherubim as well. The gates of heaven will be opened and they will not be shut. And they open and they release the fluid from your brain. Water. Okay? It's pure water. And at the same time, your pituitary gland has released an oil. And when these two flaps open, they bleed. It's exactly the same. Well, it's not exactly, but the same process as a woman losing her virginity. But this happens in the brain of a man. It's to do with his feminine aspect. Okay, and it's to do with the moon. When everything's aligned, this is what happens inside your brain, and the flood it opens and the gates are open and the flood comes through and it all starts surging to your frontal lobe. And this is why the ancient Egyptians have the uraeus on the front, on your forehead, because it represents the whole event. The snake represents magnetism. Magnetism being the feminine, the female, which is down in the vortex below the plane. And this is why it says, will bite thy heel, wound thy head. So it's biting your heel from below in the vortex, and basically winding, because everything winds up there on the plane around the black hole center, wound thy head. So man is basically standing between the two circuits, like lightning earthing to the earth, and he gets this going through his body, but it's nothing you can feel physical. It's wound thy head. It's like earthing and reaching the higher, the energy up in the ether. Okay? It's all to do with that. As above, so below. It's all about the two coming together, the sun and the moon. So it's all about polarities too in the zodiac sign. Okay? Been watching you for a while. Glad to catch you live. Thank you. I'm still with you. Yeah, okay, mate. The knee does not work too well if the hamstring is injured. Tell me about it. I've injured mine yet. Probably no more 30 years ago now when I was skiing. Only because I'd lost my nerve since the time before I'd done it. And twisted it. Been suffering that ever since. I never really had it fixed properly back then. Now I find it's connected to the hammy at the back, and it starts tightening up if I'm sitting around for an hour or two in a car or a plane or a train. It starts aching. It's a real pain. What counts as woken up? Woken up is this divine event. So the more, you live with an open mind. You've never taken sides. You just live life with an open mind. And you're one step. You got one foot in the door. That the hidden door the Egyptians have built, and all their monuments, they have this false door. Well, that represents the door out of here. It's all spiritual. There's nothing physical. So you have an open mind to creation, question the meaning to life, start making connections. It's even written somewhere, what's the question? What's the question? You have to know. Well, you've got a question. What's the question? If you don't have the question, you're not seeking the answer, you'll never get there. The Earth is a giant bus travelling at a quadrillion miles per hour. Yeah, okay. Definitely have an open mind. Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah, so some of us make it, some of us don't. And this time round, we don't like it says, we can't all be kings. And we have, like the Hindus think, we might have millions of life cycles, millions of reincarnations. You don't come back the same, of course. You might go through the whole entire animal kingdom. I don't see why you can't come back as a turf of grass. What do you call them? Or a tree. It all goes back into the same energy. The vortex is only one central vortex with all the energy in it. And like I say, I haven't described it in this video, how the magnetic fields, it comes out of the centre Arctic initially and flows all the way to the boundary line of Cancer, drops straight down to the ground, along the ground, thou shalt go, and up and over the field, over the southern hemisphere, to the tropical boundary of Cancer, Capricorn, where it drops straight down to the ground, and then finds a weaker pairing and crosses over to the opposite Arctic. The infinity symbol, it's the recycling system continuously flowing all the time. So for you to return to Earth, you have to be in that stream and find a pairing at the top, the high energy state, to find a pairing with the sun. You have to pair at the top into the sun to be reborn. Otherwise, if you miss your chance, you fall straight down and go through this recycling again, through the system, forever flowing in an infinity symbol until you're the lucky one who finds the pairing at the top. And this is what we imitate in marriage here in our physical world. We get married, you're in the church with the separation between the aisle there. One family on this side, one family on this side, you're separated, see? And the two wedding couples walk down the aisle. And then a lot of times back in the day, you used to have the arch there, arcing from one over to the other, representing the match, or just the marriage pair represent the match. So that's basically what it's doing. You're finding a pairing, which is the spiritual marriage. Okay, so one, you can think of it as a recycling system, but also the spiritual marriage we all have to go through to leave this realm. That's your rebirth. You're finding a lost Lilith, your spiritual feminine aspect. So this takes you to all the Greek and Roman legends of the sister marrying the brother and all that sort of garbage. It's not in the physical world. It's representing man with his feminine aspect, he calls a sister within him, and then man with his spiritual and his physical aspects being his twin brother. Then they talk about God, Father, like God, Yeshua, whatever. Then you got Father, yes, you break it all down. Representing the Son, all about the Son, Father. It's all about divine alignments. Okay, but it all goes back to the zodiac. Where's the sun and the moon for an alignment across the center of the zodiac? That's what you're looking for. When they tell you there's a planetary alignment, that means nothing, because if you're looking across a plane, you can get an alignment from all the concentric circles. If the planet, they could all be lining up across that plane, but if they're not lining up across the center of the plane, the black hole center, it means nothing. That's what you want. That's what you need. Single cell organism. Well, as the water molecule goes up through the tropics, this is earthly recycling system, it's getting shredded, purifying all the way up. It steps up in grades, to its thinner and thinner or pure and pure state is through ionization. These are the sprites and lightning in the tropics, just blasts it, shredding the molecule to pieces, getting rid of all the shit. And the shit, you don't really see it, is what the deserts are for. It all falls into the deserts. So the deserts will be on the sides of the tropics there, certain parts of the world, because it's basically the dumping ground. Earth has its own purification system, and all the molecules carry all the crap in the atmosphere over to the tropics, gets drawn up, and the pipeline, it's actually a vacuum, as the Milky Way is actually a vacuum pipe. It sucks this crap. It's not crap by the time it gets up there, it's pure, it's godly. It's in its purest form to feed the pure plasma sun. Down here we feed our tokamak tritium and beryllium or something or other, what do they call it? Isotopes, which are shredded from water. They shred it from the seawater. So its pure form goes over to feed the helium, the helios, the sun. And from there, it becomes pure water again and falls down as mist into the Arctic centre as pure, the most purified water. And this is why we have the Buford Gaia in the centre Arctic. There's no Buford Gaia in the Antarctic, is there? No, the Buford Gaia, it's all this fresh water is coming from above, comes from this pure plasma, room temperature, cold fusion, sun above. That's what causes the one end of the Milky Way to spiral up to it, off the Arctic basin, because it's cold, spiraling up to room temperature. And the other end spirals over from the tropics is slightly warmer, just as Plato's described in his dialogues. One end is warm, one end is cold. Because warm from the tropics, because inside the tropics is where all the energy is being created to feed the plasma through electromagnetic induction, all that. Science is calling it radiation. Okay, it's all this action going on between the tropics up high. I think we live in the brain portion of a greater being, and currently in the a computer simulation. It's all we could be. And the people who create it could be ruling the world, and they come and join us. So you've got someone like Bill Gates. He comes down and starts playing the game. Being a right, you know what? You do live in a brain. Antarctica, on their globe model, is the brain. Stretch it out around the perimeter, we're all inside the brain. If that's not a hint, what is? My God. Everything is consciousness of the brain. 3D depth perception is via the brain. From the second you were born, what's being put in front of you? What are you seeing? What are you taught? What are you thinking? All that talking and only 12 people, eh? Great book, Baruch Hashem. Yeah. Any questions? You'll never understand you never understand religion. You'll never understand religion if you don't understand the flat earth model. You have to understand the physics of the flat earth to understand what religion is all about. Okay? So, I've missed the point here of this video, a history about the Jews. So, okay, the Jews think they've come from this Physicopiscus, basically. A non-physical spiritual place, astrophysics, it's a place in celestially, yeah. They think they've come from there and they're the special ones that have come out of there. So they all think they're Jesus because Jesus represents a person who has come from there, who has been reborn. Yet no Jew that you know, unless you can produce one, prove it to me, is one of these people. Basically a witness, a prophet. Yeah. So they think it means something on earth, a land mass on earth. No. If you listen to what I've been saying and go and read the scriptures now, you'll start understanding everything. If you took in what I said, I mean, it's a lot to take in. So, being born again, so they represent a baby. They put a baby in front of you. So everyone thinks, oh, it's baby Jesus, it's a real baby, a real baby boy. And that bad king, what's his face? King. What no? He's going to kill all the babies. Always forget the names of everything. Got a bad memory, eh? Herod. King Herod. King Herod's going to kill the babies. So they go and hide him in the marshlands. Yeah, so the whole story is about being hidden under the veil, right? That 7 degrees, that Fisica is all hidden. It's all hidden. Turning to stone, stone represents the arch, the lintel, stonework of a lintel, the door, the hidden door, secret door. It's the lintel over the door. Turn to stone is the alignment. So you put two arcs opposing each other, put a line through the centre. What have you got? You've got that symbol they use in physics. But the ancients were drawing it on inside of caves. And it's the symbol on, is it chrome? Or is it, they've got the small semicircle, and then they put a bigger semicircle above it. Or was it the other way around? Oh, it's the other way around. Maybe a bigger one at the bottom, smaller one at the top. Can't remember. Yeah, so all these people, all these billionaire Zionists, Jews and that, they know. So, they're the ones that created all the wars and invaded all the countries, stole all the information, probably tortured the Kabbalists, Hermetics, and that, got all the information, came in the back door. I don't believe any of them themselves have gone through this event. They could have been members, bloodlines passed down from generation to generation, because it does stay in the bloodline. So let's say I was illuminated, my grandsons then retain that, whether it's their children after that or it keeps skipping a generation, I'm not sure. But there's a lot of mention of grandsons and grandfathers. And when you think about it, let's say you went down the road, became illuminated, your kid's going to believe you? No. And what does it say in the Bible? You can never be a prophet in your own land, because they already know you and think, bugger off, mate, you don't know anything. But their children will have more faith than you see. It's a funny thing, our grandkids love their grandparents, eh? And they're always talking about, the initiate, the illuminated one, all being thankful due to their fathers or grandfathers. Fathers. I just think they just mean their past male lives or something. Because like I say, it's a journey, so it's a bit here and a bit there, and it all adds up at the end of the day. Because it's your soul. Your soul never dies. You carry that soul with every reincarnation. Yeah. Okay, what have we got here? Please check out that website. What are you told? Yeah, okay, mate. Gone backwards. Okay, what have we got here? There is a genius class of people. Okay, if it's them, but somebody started civilization and keeps it going. No, a civilization came about like that, basically. Because once the sun was illuminated, once the sun hit the right frequency and illuminated on the horizon of the black hole, out came the 3D depth vortex below it, out came the moon from the sun, separating the woman from the male, feminine from the male, and out came our toroidal field. And because of the brain, consciousness, it never existed if man never existed. It's always been here. You can't put a time stamp on it. It's always been here. As long as man been on here or around, Earth has been here. There was no Earth without a man. Whirlpool vortex, black hole sun. No, what do you call a black hole sun? You've got to realise there's a sun on the horizon of the black hole. So I suppose you can call it the black hole sun, which represents the hidden sun, because it's not our sun, our image. So you could call it the black hole sun if you know what you're saying. No, you know what it means. And it's all, based on frequency cancellations is how we get the eclipses. Okay? So like I said, when the moon goes back into the sun every new moon, it becomes electromagnetic hermaphrodite, male, female. And all the planets are hermaphrodites, male, X and Y's. Okay? So if you get an X and Y planet caught in the Milky Way, it's feeding our image, what's going to happen? They're going to cancel each other out. That's why we get an eclipse, a shadow, until the Milky Way passes over that planet. Because the Milky Way is quicker, it's sending the shadow eastward as everything's moving westward. It's a no-brainer. What do you think the most accurate illustration of the North Pole is? Well, I just draw a vortex. I've drawn what Earth looks like plenty of times, flat Earth. That centrally locked vortex that we cannot get into. Starts at nothing, at the Arctic basin there, and goes up, gets wider and wider and wider. Nothing get in there. You can't fly straight into it. It must be quite elevated. When you think about it, when you draw the profile of the Earth out, it's 10,000 kilometres from the Earth to the top of the flux. And we all dwell down a couple of millimetres on the ground there when you try drawing it out. So realise the central vortex, no matter how big or how wide, how tall, a vortex only has one S cycle, an overall S cycle up and an S cycle back down, which in 3D side elevation would give you a figure 8. That's the sun's analemma over the year. Funny how the sun at the top there, with the flexing plane, like I said, how it bulges up in the middle and sinks down in the middle. That flexing, the diaphragm, is what causes creates the cycle of the seasons out in our realm, forming the sun's analemma. But the stars and the moon inside the vortex creates their own analemma as well. It's funny how that works. Well, I think I've been around here, talked long enough, only 12 people, seems like a waste of time. But anyway, it's up to you guys to go and explain it to everybody and get it out there. Draw the pictures. If you listen to me, you should know how it all works by now. So I'm going to say goodbye. Okay, thanks for calling. Bye. Catch you later.